Hey everybody, welcome back to part 4 of my workflow series. In this section we're going to go through masking options in Lightroom and then talk about how we take our photo in Lightroom and then push it to Photoshop so we can do even more editing. We've already uploaded the picture, we've already done an HDR photo merge, and we've already done some very general edits to this photo to bring up some of the more of the details within the photo, but now we're going to use masking to help us really make the photo pop. Before I really get into masking, I want to bring up presets because I love presets. I'm scrolling through them right now, and you can get some really cool features just from these presets. These presets are a lot of masks. They involve a lot of playing with the tone, the presence, everything over here to the right of the screen. You can build out these presets. You can purchase presets, and they really do a lot of the work for you. I mean, look at how amazing this photo looks in black and white. This is even inspiring me to do a black and white version of this photo. But presets are great. I love them. They can really help you get inspiration. So I'm not going to use a preset for this. I'm doing all of my work manual on this photo just so because it's a tutorial. So the first thing I want to do is open up our masking options by clicking this button right here. And it's going to give you the option to add a new mask. We can select the subject, we can select the sky, you have your brush, your linear gradient, your radial gradient, and we'll use pretty much all of these during this tutorial. Now this tutorial might be a little bit longer than previous ones, but I really want to get all of this content in one video because there's so much to cover here. So the first thing I want to do is cover Select Sky. This is a brand new feature to Lightroom Classic. I am so excited for it. I love it. It makes editing the sky a million times easier. All you do is click the button and Lightroom detects the sky and builds a mask for you. And sometimes it can take a minute, but here's the mask. Now, it's not perfect by any means. I mean, this down here is all sky as well, but it's not capturing it, so it's a little frustrating, but that's okay. I think we can work with this. And let's just go ahead and play around with some of the effects. So right off the bat, I like to darken my skies a little bit. It helps bring out some of the colors. I love to add contrast. I don't want to go too dark because then it looks fake, right? I don't want to go too bright because then it washes out. So trying to keep it within that realistic range of what looks good. And so in this case, let's bring down the highlights a little bit more. Let's bring down the let's keep the whites about the same, and let's bring down the blacks, make them a little bit darker. And here the sky's already more dramatic. I mean, from up here to down here you can really see the difference. I like to dehaze the sky a little bit. The thing about dehazing is it tends to add a little noise. So what I want to do is reduce the noise a little bit. I'm going to have to actually zoom in a little to make sure that I am getting all of that noise out. So once you create a mask, you'll have a little box that pops up here that's showing you the mask, as we see right there. And then let me see if, yeah, there we go. So let's remove all that noise from the sky. Perfect. Now I'm not happy that it didn't capture this area as the sky, so I'm going to actually go back in and make my own mask to draw, using the brush, the mask for the sky. This can be fairly general. I just really want to get this lower sky to match the upper part of the sky. And so I'm just going to paint it about like that, and we'll get a little bit more detail. We want to make sure we capture all of this up here. So that. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be fairly general. Because if you look at it over here, so I have the feather turned all the way up, but that's the larger outer circle you have. So the effects are going to be feathered out based on that. But I just really want to get this sky and background to look, you know, fairly similar to the way it did up above the bridge. This definitely tends to be the more time-consuming part of photo editing. For me, it's also the most fun part. So yeah, and we'll get some of this space up here, but I think everything else is good. So I'm just going to zoom out here and then see if we can match. Yep, see, we're already able to get a pretty solid match. It doesn't look too bad. Yeah, just like that. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth and checking to make sure I'm happy with the way things are turning out. Let's click back into that mask and then let's just keep working with it. I don't think we need to do as much as we did up there. We just want to get something close to where it doesn't look obvious. You know, you don't want to do something like that and it's like very obviously photoshopped and different from the other sky. You want to get something that's fairly close and maybe sharpen it a little bit and maybe bring down the noise a little bit and get that Empire State Building looking a little cleaner. Let's see what else we could, yeah. Like I said in part 3, it's really about what you want to do. So, okay, that gets us to that point. I'm fairly happy with that. Let's go ahead and really make this photo a little bit more dramatic, and let's do a linear gradient. And you don't want to do your linear gradients straight up like that because, you know, I tend to lower my exposure, and it can look a little fake. You know, it can look a little photoshoppy. So what I like to do is take my linear gradients when I place them, and I like to kind of add an angle. The angle makes it sort of interesting, like mysterious. And I like to sort of, I don't like vignetting, but I like having some edges darker than others. I think it makes for a really, really cool photo. So let's see what else we can do to really make this pop. So you see that's too dark, that looks kind of fake, but we want to just a little bit to make it sort of interesting. Maybe add some texture. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. But we don't want to look too fake, but we definitely want to really get those reflections to pop. So I need some clarity. When you add clarity and texture, it tends to darken things up. So when I start doing that, I start bringing the exposure just a little bit further back. Maybe reduce some of the noise. But I think that is looking really, really cool. I kind of like that. Let me bring the whites up just a little bit more. Maybe the highlights. Maybe make it a little bit bluer, maybe a little greener. Okay. Yeah. And this really, really cool reflection now. So we've done the sky mask. We've done the brush, we're going to do a little bit more of this linear work over here. Let me drag this over just a tad, like that. And then I don't really want to make it too dark. In fact, that might actually look pretty cool. I actually kind of like that. And see, this is the cool thing about photography is you play around with these settings and you get these really interesting sort of dynamics. And honestly, we'll just hit Control C and then Control V and copy that. And let's just take it and spin it around to the other side. And click and drag that. I think that looks pretty cool. I really like that. Let me maybe make this side a little brighter. Definitely don't want to add orange. Nope, that is too much. Maybe just a little bit of clarity. I don't know. You know what? I think it looks better without clarity, so we're not going to add clarity. We're going to set that back to 0. So that looks really good. I'm kind of happy with that. Again, we don't want it to look fake, but we want it to be interesting. We want it to pop. So that looks good there. Let's do a radial gradient, and let's do it on the bridge. And this, we're going to make this very, very subtle, because if you do it too much, it's like, whoa, the bridge looks holy. So, but let's just, again, make something interesting. We want this whole picture to pop, and you have this really awesome perspective towards the bridge, and we want the entire photo to guide you towards that bridge and make the bridge, something interesting to look at. This is art. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe desaturate just a little bit to make it match this down here. And yeah, I like that. Okay, awesome. Well, the last thing I want to do for this video, before we move on to the next video, is import this over to Photoshop so we can finish making our edits in Photoshop. That's a very easy thing to do. You just right-click on the image, click Edit In, and then Edit in Adobe Photoshop. Photoshop and Lightroom are going to work together to take this image and bring it over to Photoshop. And if you open up Photoshop, which could take a little bit, then what you're going to see here is the image, and we're going to be able to work with this and make our final touches and really make this photo interesting. So stay tuned for part 5, where we go into the Photoshop edits. We're going to try to remove this light post. We may even try to make this part of the skyline just a little bit bigger to make it a little bit more interesting, and we'll remove a few other things. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe to stay up to date with more videos coming up in the future, and I will see you over at part 5.